Welcome to Inspirational Transformational TV show. Amy Whitney here today with my very special guest, Charlotte Szivak. Charlotte is an internationally renowned intuitive, and she blesses the ITTV show today with so much esoteric information that every sentence she utters is absolutely golden. Charlotte leaves us with the message that everything we need to know is actually already within us. So as she takes us through some really mind-expanding concepts, she brings it back to that simple point, and it's absolutely beautiful how she weaves her story today. So sit back and enjoy the show. Charlotte, thank you so much for joining Inspirational Transformational TV show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me on. I'm very honored to be here.
Oh, thank you. Now, to start with, I'd like to hear a little bit of background information about the guests. Now, you have a lot of gifts that we're going to talk about today.
Oh, thank you.
I'm wondering, is it jumping in too quickly to ask you when did you first realize that you could see, hear, know things?
Probably when I was about 4 years old, but I thought everybody could do this, so I never really thought that it was really a gift. It was just something I had and something everybody had and didn't really need to talk about. They just understood or thought that it was something they also had too. So when I was about 4, I saw angels and fairies, and I was always talking with the animals, and it was always... It's one of those things where, you know, when you're just born to do something and it just happens, that was what the case was with it. So it was quite amazing. So from one thing led to another, and as you know, you travel on your journey, everything happens, doors are revealed, and it's a choice of whether or not you're going to take the choice, if you're going to be daring enough and say, okay, you know what, this is not really what I want. There's got to be more to this life than what we see right now. So just wanted to take a chance, and I did, and it's been an amazing ride.
So when you say take a chance, were you going down the traditional road, like, you know, you're in dental school with a white picket fence, or did you always
Pretty much, yes. The
Yeah?
traditional, you have to have a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I came from very strict European parents, so they really didn't allow for that creative aspect to really come in, because it was, you know, from that era too, they had a lot of the fear pounded into them from everything that they had also gone through from the World War II, and then all the crises and everything that had been going on. They had left their home country of Hungary and had come to Canada, so it was a new life for them. So they were also struggling and trying to establish themselves with their own home and, you know, making money, and basically they were in survival mode. So they never really had the opportunity to look at other aspects of their life. So whereas I was born immediately with that gene, so we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things for many years. So it was quite an integral part of my own growth as well too.
So a lot of times I hear that being psychic runs in families. So it wasn't such that, like, it wasn't part of your story that your grandmother taught it to you or your grandmother spoke about it. You had to forge your own way.
That's right.
Wow.
But the thing is that I really wish to convey to everybody is that psychic ability is not what you think. And psychic ability is something that every single person on the planet has. It's just whether or not they're attuned to it, how they go through their structures, their family, their religious dogma, the structures of how they've grown up, what country they live in. It has a lot of factors. It's not just that it's given to you from your grandmother or third or fourth generation. There's a lot more to it than that. But some people also choose to shut it off and not use it and go with their mental mind as well instead of using their intuitive self. So when they do that, they close off an entire other aspect of themselves.
And so awakening is when you are re-familiarizing yourself with your psychic abilities? Is that
your greater ability? It's a great point. It's a great place to start. But it is actually reawakening you to who you really are, what you were created to be, your divine self. So there's a lot more to it, but sometimes you have to go through like some of the little doorways first, and to hear the word psychic, or to hear the word, you can either be a psychic or you can be an occultist, which means that a psychic would be somebody who is learning this type of arts from a spiritual emotional perspective, whereas somebody who is an occultist is somebody who is like a scientist and uses their mental mind to access and come around the other way. That's why even too in ancient Egypt they used to have two different schools, mystery schools, where they had the left eye of Ra and the right eye of Ra, and both represented a different aspect of learning the mystery school initiations, but learning it for people who were mental per se and people who were emotional.
And will you share your path of discovery? Was it all through your intuition, or did you have teachers and guides along the way?
Well, my guides were etheric, so a lot of...
Oh, this gets interesting.
Yeah, it does, because a lot of people were like, well, you need to have a certificate and a paper to prove that you are whatever. And one of the first things I realized is that I don't need any of that, because if I have that and I'm going from that perception, then that means that I am coming from my ego. It means that I need that validation and proof instead of honoring my inner knowing. So a lot of the things that was happening with me was at nighttime I'd be taken to these schools. It was, I didn't understand where, I didn't know what, but now I do, of course, but at the time I just felt I was always learning. I was always, when I was sleeping, I was being taken away in my spiritual etheric body instead of my physical body. Because a lot of people don't understand that we're also multidimensional. They feel that we are just the physical and that's it. But we're actually multidimensional, where we actually have 12 different bodies. And it's, again, it just opens a whole new world to you when you start to really step into it. But to give you an idea, I want to actually first start off with one of my favorite quotes, which is by Carl Jung, where he said that those who look outward dream, but those who look inward awaken. So that really says a lot right there, because everything that you need is inside of yourself. And that's when the harmonic principles come through, where we've all heard the saying, so above, so below, so within, so without. And how many times have we all scratched our heads wondering, what does that actually mean? And, only now in the last few years did it actually hit me to go, wow, I get it. I totally get it. Everything is inside of you. And everything is a reflection. Your world is a reflection of who you are on the inside. So your homework is actually in your environment, but a lot of people don't perceive that because they get caught up in drama or whatever media is going on with the media circus or Hollywood or whatever they're projecting from the one multidimensional or holographic level, and then it gets an imprint into your mind, and then that's how you think. That's why there's always these questions and issues with the collective consciousness as well, and how they have what they call the fear matrix programming, where they try to instill fear into you to not look at your abilities, to not go within yourself. Because what they fear, and when we're looking at the fear matrix, is that they fear that you'll figure out who you really are. You'll figure out how divine you are and how you can co-create whatever it is that you want, and that you can make it heaven on earth. But everyone's so caught up now with these PS3s and the cell phones and these cell phones now that can basically cook a turkey. It's unbelievable. And moving into this phase of taking you out of your I always get confused, your right brain, because your left brain is the mental side, the right brain is the creativity, so that you don't have that creative aspect to yourself. So then you end up being exhausted, drained, wiped out, and then not understanding your boundaries, and then you get caught up with all of the ego and shadow issues. Now, I'm not going to go Freud on you, because I don't mean ego from the aspect of Freud had it as he was explaining it, but the work that him and Carl Jung had done back in the late 1800s was fascinating, which was later updated with Carolyn Myers, and there's just a whole slew of people that you can look at. Debbie Ford, she's another phenomenal person who really delves deep into the shadow. And that is one of the spaces that so many people are afraid to step into, because we're here to learn about ascension. But a lot of people think ascension is going up into the higher realms and being, oh, I'm so holy, and all this, and actually it isn't. And I'm not putting anybody down for saying that, because ascension is actually descension. And what that means is that it is the energy coming down here to heaven. It is spiritual becoming material, becoming the physical, and honoring that part. That's what this level of creation is all about. It's to learn how to be spiritual in a physical body, spiritual in your relationships, whether they're intimate, friendships, business associates, everything. And honoring the self. And the key to honoring the self and the key to your actual ascension, which is stepping into an open heart, some call it the they call it the Christ consciousness, which is the golden ray, is about having the open heart and being the divine child. And if you think about it, when you have the two come together from the left side and the right eye of Ra, well, what generally happens when you bring a man and a woman together? Who are not homosexual. No. But you understand what I mean, because that's fine too.
Yes.
But you have a child.
Yes.
And if you are divine in both sides of yourself, then what ends up happening is you bring forth a child. So now with all this 2012 quantum leap shift, it's not about the world blowing up, it's about us honoring ourselves, and about the quantum leap in consciousness, the quantum leap in spirituality. Our bodies are changing. They're calling us the human angels, is what we're going to become, what we are. And we just forgot. It's like we went and rolled around in the mud because we wanted to forget how good we are. So I see it many times where people have issues with their self-esteem, their self-confidence, because they won't go within themselves and honor themselves. And it's too bad but again, it is part of their growth. So I shouldn't say it from that perspective because it's not a judgment. So there's so many aspects that you look at it, but the key factor is being able to step into yourself and look at yourself from everything that you've hidden, all the wounds that you have been hurting from, all the emotional connections that you haven't honored within yourself, all the aspects of everything that you didn't want to look at, everything that scared you, or any grief or fear that you've had from your whole life about being humiliated or betrayed or second-guessing yourself. These are all the things that a lot of people, and we're all have been guilty of, is not being in integrity with ourselves. So for the conscious traveler, we'll say, a soul who's seeking spiritual fulfillment and spiritual attainment and spiritual expansion, spirit is in everything. And that's what they say, God is everything. Absolutely everything. Even down to the music, the mechanics of the music and the cell phone and the technology. It's all the maturation of us who have created with God inside of ourselves, because we are all God. We created everything with God co-creating, that it is also God. I know that gets confusing.
There was so much information there, so I'm going to just pick little bits out and break it down, because it was just incredible.
You can do lots of edits, yeah.
No, it's not edits. It's just beautiful. Fear matrix. If we are all God, or God is in everything, why does that exist? Why isn't it the Garden of Eden? Why isn't everything love?
Because everything is love. We just forgot it.
Right.
And what's happening is the collective consciousness is actually around the planet. Okay. And this is where we're going through right now with the pole shifting. And they're saying that we are going through the pole shift. But what a lot of people don't understand is that whatever happens to the earth also happens to us. And when Japan was hit with that earthquake, and I'm not going to call it disastrous because it was on a higher level, when you look at it, it was more of an activation, because they were holding the essence and the energy of slavery to money, slavery to work, and they had completely lost their connection with their emotional selves. And how interesting that they were the only ones that got hit with a huge tsunami. It's just incredible. And how they were expecting it to come and hit Hawaii, which they say is the blueprint of the Garden of Eden. So how interesting that you would bring that up. Kauai, actually the island of Kauai, they believe is the blueprint of the Garden of Eden. And they were right in direct firing line of that tsunami, and it didn't hit them. It only hit Japan. So it's amazing how it was all aimed, or not aimed, but was at that aspect. And what happened was, a lot of people don't know this either, is that as well as being on the ring of fire, it is also the breastplate of the earth. So what was happening was it was almost like a charge of activating the heart of the Earth. And what happened was the planet sped up. So it was, I believe it was a second or 1.8 millisecond of a second or a second that it had actually sped up. And if you can Google it, you'll get the answer to that. And what happened was as the Earth sped up and accelerated, that means that everybody, all the sentient beings on the planet also have to accelerate. So a lot of people were having issues with heart palpitations, and were finding themselves feeling a lot of grief in their heart expanding, opening up, and they were questioning a lot of things. Some people thought they were having heart attacks or strokes, but they actually weren't. It was their heart speeding up because it had to go with the acceleration of the planet. So you think about it, our planet Earth, they say, is kind of like a spaceship taking us around the galaxy, but it doesn't have a rudder. So it's very cool. So with the pole shift, as they're saying is going to happen with the pole shift on the Earth, well, wouldn't there have to be a pole shift within us? So when you think about the pole shift, you would have the balancing, the dynamic balancing between the masculine and the feminine. So when we look at the masculine and the feminine, that's when we look into the shadow aspect, where you see we have a light side and a shadow aspect, which is not about being, you're good, I'm bad, and this is negative and that's positive. It's not about causing a separation. It's about understanding that the shadow is actually your lesson. The shadow is the hidden potential. And a lot of things that people do is when they start to access the shadow, in the beginning it is a little bit scary, but they forget to fill themselves up with love. They forget how honorable they are. They forget that they come from love. So in essence, it's everything that humanity has done to themselves. And on a higher scale, they call Earth the Earth School. And what happens with the Earth School is that we have all come here, and they say that this is a time that is so huge on the cosmic level, and so many people are not understanding or grasping how enormous this actually is. Because not only is the Earth ascending, but the entire cosmos, the solar ring, everything is moving to the next level, which is incredible, but on a higher scale. But when you get so caught up in your ego, you don't see what's really going on. And what they say is that in order to return to God, you have to go through 352 levels of initiation. And the initiations are each, in essence, you could say like a test or like an aspect that you need to learn about yourself, another lesson that you need to embrace, and it's always in the shadow. But we're also looking now, too, into the 9 dimensions of reality that are here on the Earth. They're all simultaneously stacked on each other, but the collective consciousness and, if you want to call it the fear matrix, is in the 4th dimension. Anything past the 4th, so 5th dimension and above, is pure love.
So, and when you say the Earth is ascending and we're ascending with it, is that what you mean? We're moving into pure love?
That's right.
Does everybody go kicking and screaming, or do some stay in 4th?
No, that is actually, again, you can't generalize it because it is all about free will. Right. So it's what the people choose. And everybody ascends. It's just what you do when you ascend of how you relate to it. Are you going to go into your fear and freak out? Or are you going to go into your fear or into your space and recognize in your center that everything is as it should be? We all know it. Everybody feels it. It's just when do you feel it? Some people have felt it since 87, when the harmonic convergence happened, and the planet was gifted with a divine dispensation, which is called the Mahatma energy. It's one of the most powerful energies on the planet. And what it can do is when you invoke it, it actually, and blend and fuse with your soul, it helps you to elevate and go through all 352 levels of initiation in one lifetime. So that's why there is so many people here on the planet at this time. That is why we are so overpopulated. That is why all of our brothers and sisters in the light, and now here we go with the ETs, bringing in the ETs. They're actually Christed ETs because they're above the 5th dimension. Then we have the Palladians, the Syrians, the Andromedians, they call them 2 different ways, the Arcturians, and you have the Great White Brotherhood. There's so many, the leagues of the archangels, the spiritual hierarchies. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
And these are your colleagues, and these are the beings that you work with and that you communicate with. Is that correct?
That's right. But every single person has access to this. It's just being able to invoke it. And again, it's going through a space. So in the beginning, it was just one. For me, it was always one guide, and it was Jesus. And I was never religious. I was never drawn to any type of a religion, like whether it was Catholicism or I felt that everything had a spirit, and I wanted to respect everything. So it was interesting how I was actually in a Catholic high school, and I took a world religion class. I believe it was in grade 11, and it changed my entire life, changed my perception, because they actually introduced you to Hinduism and Buddhism and all the different type of religions that are actually out there. And what I actually learned was tolerance from that class. And I learned that we should honor everybody, and regardless, it doesn't matter what religion you are. There's many ways up a mountain. So it's whatever area you're from, what country, what vibrational frequency that you resonate to, you're going to attract those kind of people or that type of lesson or that type of a religion. But eventually, we all realize that we are all one. So when you get to that point, all this drama ends, and you are no longer fed or feed into the fear matrix, which is about control and power or taking away your power. And that's why I'm sure you've heard of, too, the world elite, where there's 13 families that run the planet. And they very much also are connected in with the fear matrix because they don't want you to go above that. They want to keep you under control, almost like a robot, unfortunately. But again, it's up to you to decide to take back your power. So it's very interesting how it opens up. And if you look at Hollywood, there's many movies that also show you this type. Of course, they're really watered down, but there's a lot more going on than you believe. And it's interesting how they also say, too, that they say this is actually the illusion, and the etheric realms are the reality, not the other way around. So there's another perception for you to, I'll take you or invite you to work on that with yourself, because it's quite another aspect. But it's amazing how things open up. It's amazing how you're led to another door. You meet another person. You learn another lesson. There's so many cosmic keys. And what a lot of people don't realize is that you're given the keys. You have it. God gave you everything. But it's whether you choose to use it or not is the step. And that is the biggest first initial step that everybody needs to take. That and self-forgiveness. And repiecing all your fragmented aspects of yourself so that you can become more aligned and you see your divinity completely expanding, so that your masculine and feminine now start to become the divine masculine and feminine. So as you honor your shadow, you embrace it, it empowers you. So you become gold. In essence, gold, a shining, sparkling gold, because it means you're owning both sides of yourself. You're not separated. And then once you become the divine masculine and feminine aligned with all that is, you end up becoming the god goddess. And that's what we're all heading back to.
Oh, exciting.
It's amazing.
It is. So is there, for the very beginner who's just logged onto YouTube and they've stumbled upon this, is there a first step that can be generic, or is it you need to go within and you'll be led to what to do, or do you know what I mean? Like, take
I
us
totally
to the
understand what you're saying. Whenever I've met anybody that comes for the first time or comes for a session and it's their very first time and they're seeking, they're questioning, because they know there's more out there, the first thing really is learning boundaries. It'll always be your first lesson. And again, it's interesting as I refer back again to the mystery schools, that was always the very first lesson that they always taught. As boundaries represent, how are you going to be able to learn and grow if you don't even know who you are? And especially if you're absorbing everybody else's emotional issues, negativities, fears, second-guessing yourself, how are you going to trust what you know, what you feel? You're going to get confused and everything becomes muddied, and then you get scattered, and then you're like, whoa, that's when everybody becomes mental. Not mental crazy. I mean, you don't need a straitjacket or, like how do they say it, put you in for the room with the padded walls. It's getting out of your head. Stop second-guessing yourself. And eventually what happens, and again, everybody has in a space where we all have abilities. Clairsentient, clairaudient, clairvoyant, and claircognizant. but it is also at different levels.
Okay.
So when they start, eventually what happens is you want them all to become unified so that it becomes full sensory perception. So it means you use all of your senses. So it's incredible, and they're all equal. But that takes time. So then meditation is amazing. Again, there's so many different ways. You can take yoga for those who want to go through the physical realms. Meditation, there's healing, there's aromatherapy, there is just sound therapy. Music is amazing. Music takes you into the 7th dimension, vibrational frequency. And it's shown too with, I was going to say Beethoven, and that when they had written those pieces, they access those dimensions, which awaken you further to the other aspects of yourself. Because again, it's about bringing spirit into matter. So it really changes your perception, and you see how things end up shifting and are connecting to the earth so that we are fully aligned with the universe, so the energy flows through us, we become a conduit for it, and it flows into the center of the earth, so we all ascend together. It's not just about us.
Beautiful. Now, can I ask you, from a simplistic sort of, probably don't understand it fully point of view, when you say pole shift, is it literally that dramatic that one day...
Yes.
Really?
Well, it's already happened. We had it happen, I believe, in 11,500 BC. And they say that when you're on Earth, we've been repeating through all these life lessons. And it was such a dramatic time that it is laced in humanity's consciousness about what had happened after the poles had shifted. Because it literally went from south and north, and, you know, it didn't completely go like right like this, but, I mean, it could have like this, or, you know.
Yes.
There's many things you can look at. Drumvelo Melchizedek writes about it, as well as Barbara Hand Cloud. She wrote a phenomenal book called, I believe it's Catastrophobia, that you may want to look into, and to help you with healing that aspect of yourself. Right. And it's already happening. We're already in the midst of it, because the aeronautical institutions and navigation airplanes, that entire sector already knows it's existing, because since the 60s they have shifted all of their instruments for all of the airplanes, which means they have to now, when they have to land at visual sight now. It's no longer with instrumentation. So it's already happened, and whenever there is a shift in consciousness, and we're going into now, this is going to be the 5th world on the earth, it demagnetizes the collective consciousness and the magnetic field around the earth. So when it destabilizes, what you find is on the earth, all of a sudden, Alzheimer's and all the mental type issues or mental type diseases really start to run rampant. So you've probably even noticed that even at this time there is a huge increase in mental, and I'm going to say disorders, but really what's happening is that it's everyone who is not into either meditating or finding that silence within. Because when you find that, you become a mind of light. And as you become a mind of light, you end up accessing divine intelligence. And so this is where I would bring up the Merkaba, which some also know looks like the Star of David. And it is an incredible tool, and it is something that is in with all of us. We all have it, and it's a matter of re-stabilizing it, re-energizing it, reconnecting with it. And we haven't needed to use the Merkaba in over 13,000 years. They say the last time we used it, or the sentient beings on the planet, was when Atlantis fell, and that was when the last pole shift had happened. So now is the time. That's why there is such a huge market, and I don't even want to say market, but a huge opening where everyone all of a sudden is like, Merkaba, I need to know about my Merkaba. And the Merkaba represents also the human vehicle. They call it an ascension vehicle. All the ascended masters have one. We all have one. And when you activate it with your breath, what it does is it stabilizes and solidifies all the work that you do, but it also protects you from any of the trappings of the fear matrix consciousness of negativity being imposed through your mind. It actually helps you with accessing the mind of light so that you're more clear, you're more silent, you're more aligned. You're not worrying and stressing and overanalyzing and contemplating absolutely everything. So it's a lot of shifting going on with you, a lot of changes, and it's really remarkable. It's really incredible.
So everyone has their own individual Merkaba?
That's right.
So
then there's also a Merkaba for your for your soul extensions, where you come together, your monad. There's also an earth Merkaba. There's many different types. There isn't just one. So there's also ones that you can activate for people who are, again, on the left brain, ones that are on the right brain. Wow. It's amazing. It's all out there. All you have to do is ask. You know what they say, seek and you shall find. Now, whether or not you want to embrace it, that's your lesson. Yes. That's your issue. But it's just exactly the same thing. You have the library card to the best library on the planet, and that is Source, the divine mind. But again, you ask the question, but do you really want to hear the answer? So it's very interesting how, again, it's you taking responsibility and ownership for yourself, honoring yourself. And as you heal yourself, what happens is you actually activate and align and open up doors for everybody else around you. So you actually raise the energy, raise the frequency of the people that you're surrounded with just by your mere presence. So people don't even understand how important and how much we affect each other. So next time when you meet somebody and you want to punch them in the nose or clock them because they annoy you so much, it actually is a sign that it means it's something you're not dealing with, something you're not embracing. And that person is just reflecting it to you so that you can honor that within yourself. So when you see it from that perception and you honor it, and this is where Ho'oponopono comes in, or contract cutting and cords, releasing cords, which are etheric cords that we're connected to with everybody, you find that you are no longer influenced, you don't get led astray because you own your power, you honor yourself. And again, as you do this and as you embrace this part of yourself, it's very incredible what awakens within you. That's when the true magic starts happening. And this is why now I have this radio show I do called Goddess Alchemy and Divine Magic. Because Goddess Alchemy is actually healing the world by healing ourselves. And you actually heal humanity and all sentient beings because you're taking responsibility. And as you start to do that and honor that aspect of yourself, it's amazing how you affect others. You inspire others. You awaken others. And then they look and say, what's going on with that person? Look at them. It's amazing. It's maybe I can have that. Well, you can have that. But you need to take the chance, take the risk. And that's when divine magic awakens, because it is about being divine. We're all divine. And the magic enlightens and awakens and ignites because you're living in your essence of bliss. You're living in what they call the ecstasy blueprints. And that's what we're heading into. Heaven on earth is the ecstasy blueprints. And with the quantum shift or the quantum leap that's happening in 2012, it is basically, they're saying it is a cosmic orgasm. We're all awakening, and that's how we're supposed to be living, in creativity, in union with everything.
Amazing.
It is incredible.
When's your radio show on, or what's the? It's on
bbsradio.com, and it's every 2 weeks.
Oh,
and it's just check the website for more information, and it's usually every second week, Tuesdays at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Awesome. If someone's watching this, they won't be able to get enough of you, I know.
No. Why, thank you. No.
You also work as a healer.
That's right.
I'm wondering, when someone has an illness, is it not often, is that not their higher purpose to go through that? And do you take that illness from them, or am I missing how it works?
When someone comes with an illness, I will call it a dis-ease. Let's split the word up. Anytime you have a physical condition, a physical issue, or pain in your body, it means that it's something you're not dealing with. Okay. Our bodies are the blueprints of our lessons for this lifetime. So the shape of your body tells you everything you need to know. It gives you more information about what you need to focus on. And then let's look at the disease, whether it's cancer or even we'll say Alzheimer's, or there's just so many. Even something as small as a cut on your finger. It all represents something. And what it means is that when people come, it's to help them to embrace the lesson. Because we usually get so caught up in our lives that we forget to take care of ourselves. So your body reflects what you're doing to yourself and what you're not dealing with. If you're more perceptive. But if you're not, then you might go to a doctor and you might cut something out. You might be very drastic. Or you might start taking some form of pharmaceutical aid and not deal with it. So now what's happening is that you're still not dealing with the issue. It still continues on. And then it breaks out, and then eventually it can turn into quite a issue. But when someone comes here for a healing session, we try to work on every aspect, all the multidimensional levels, and find out what the emotional reason is for the physical condition. And I've been very blessed where I work with quite a number of physicians now who are everything from GPs to internal medicine to every form of medical level you can think of, radiologists. I'm quite honored. They even come for healing sessions themselves because they're saying that they don't understand how they see this, but it doesn't make sense, and they want to learn more too. So science is meeting spirituality, and it's amazing. And I'm honored for it, and I've actually was nominated for Woman of the Year in Health and Wellness, and twice, and it was quite hilarious because I was there with a bunch of doctors, and they were like, what is this? So
congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was quite amazing. And it didn't matter. It wasn't about winning. That doesn't bother me. It was more about the fact that it was raising awareness. So it was incredible how it really opened people's eyes and their perception. And this is where the animals come in as well, too, because animals are our counterparts or our companions, and they teach us so much more than people understand. And they're so empathetic that they actually end up taking on our emotional wounds. So I don't want you to get upset and think, oh my gosh, my dog died of cancer. Does that mean I have cancer? Right. It's not that. Cancer, from the emotional perspective, is about not dealing with emotional wounds. And about secrets eating away at the soul. But again, it also depends on what part of the body it breaks out in, whether it's in your liver or your breasts. I find men also have breast cancer, but with women generally, it is on the breast side because it's all about over-nurturing, over taking care of everybody else, forgetting about yourself. And men, I find, run rampant with the prostate cancer because it represents their fear of needing to prove and value that they're worthy of love, what they can provide, instead of going with just the emotion of love.
Right.
So again, it just opens another door. So it all leads back to the same spot. And I have to say, at this time in my life, I seem to be obsessed with sacred geometry. And I love it. It's so incredible how much I learn. I mean, I love all of this. And I will always be the eternal student. But it is incredible, everything that you learn from it, and the vast amount of knowledge, and how it just changes your perception of the world, and how you end up living in divine truth and in unconditional love.
Okay, now you have to explain sacred geometry. I've read a paragraph in my life about it.
Oh, really?
So that's all I know. So can you even just do a little basic course?
Well, we look at the
here?
Platonic solids. We have 5,
okay,
which are the tetrahedron, the dodecahedron, the icehedron, the cube, and the triangle.
Okay.
And they each represent not just the fact of how they look, but building blocks of the universe. And then I should actually, before we even go into the sacred geometry aspect of it, I should mention the flower of life. Because everything comes out of the flower of life. It is a stargate. You can use it as a portal to access more information. But what it also does is, through the flower of life, you create the Platonic solids. And then as you go through the Platonic solids, you end up opening up to the diamond star, which is the next order for the next creation. And then it connects into with the pyramids of Giza and the sacred geometries of the Metatron's cube, which is absolutely phenomenal. It gives you the keys, just even to meditate on it. And also the symbol of the Seer Yantra, which brings you into stillness and connects you in with the pyramids. So it's incredible how it all connects. It all reflects. It all comes together. It's really amazing. So it opens many doors. There is so much. It awakens the language of light and the language in silence, and that universal love is the key. We only have two real emotions. Do you know what they are?
Love and fear.
Love and fear. That's right. But fear breaks into thousands of different emotional wound resonances and causes you to give you so much more grief and emotional wounds, whether what it is you're relating to, whether it's fear of not having enough money, fear of poverty consciousness, fear of being rejected. It's incredible how it opens up all the doors. And then you have the 5 wounds too that are very much instilled in people. It's just amazing. So again, it's when you really look deeper, the beauty of all of this is that it's hidden in plain sight. It's incredible.
That's a perfect sentence.
It is. It's amazing how it's all there.
Now, in your life, what has been your biggest inspiration?
Oh, there's so many. I can't even just say one. I have to say, I'm going to actually say my animals in the beginning, because I'm now very fortunate to also be the spokesperson for the SPCA for their Wiggle Waggle Walkathon. And this is my 4th year doing it. And they always say that we rescue animals, but the truth is animals rescue us. And they teach us so much. They can't say words to us, but it's amazing how just through the sound and through body movement, how much they teach us. And through all the communication that I've learned for myself from my own animals has been incredible. And my true inspiration, I would have to say, is everybody I meet. Because every single person I meet is a reflection of me. And every person brings something for me to learn. And when I perceive that and see it from that aspect, I always want to be my highest unlimited potential and do everything I do for the highest benefit of all. And it just only instills in me how much I still need to learn. So it's really incredible. So inspired by everyone I meet, by the lessons that they bring, by all of my clients, all of my animal clients, my friends, my family, even my relationships. They have taught me so much. And even though all the heartache you go through, it was an amazing lesson. So that's a very profound, very wide question. So,
and I don't know if you'll be open to doing this, but will you describe how you see the world as we will know it after 2012?
Heaven on earth. I'm already trying. I'm just doing it now. So
beautiful.
Being it so that it can reflect to everybody else. But we'll become also the cosmic universal citizens, which will be incredible. Which means we'll be able to travel to other planets and other solar systems. And it sounds crazy right now, but that is our potential. There is just so much more that we can do that we don't even realize. So really the message that I want to get across is to get out of your head. Go within yourself and recognize how truly valuable you really are. And when you really work from that space of creativity and divine love with the divine child and honor yourself and have playtime and let yourself sleep and have fun, watch how your life completely transforms. It's really amazing. So it's do everything you can, experience everything you can, dare, risk, and move forward. You know, a new harmonic octave has anchored, so let's play with it. Let's go with it. Let's try something new. Let's have the experience. Let's live the life. Your life is meant to be an adventure, not to sit at home and and I'm so grateful for that experience, because this has opened all the doors. I wanted to see the world, and it's happening. And I'm able to meet so many people in so many different areas and cities, and it's amazing.
You're on tour a lot, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
I travel throughout North America. doing expos, health shows, and I've been fortunate enough to do quite a bit of media as well. I've now become the in-house psychic for the radio station at home, or the official morning show psychic, and I have my own show now. I write my own newsletters, turning it into blogs and turning it into... I've been an advisor to several TV shows and movies, and it's been pretty amazing. Travel the world doing on cruises as well, where I will teach. We give like a curriculum. We've been to the Mayan temples, and we've been Hawaii, and it's just a number of places. And we were going to go to Egypt this year, but unfortunately all the cruise ships pulled out of the Egyptian ports. So we are going to Sedona, Arizona this year. So Sedona's always been a space where only I go for myself with my friends, but this year I'm taking a group. So it'll be amazing. So there's always something to do. I host meditation nights as well, once a month, in my temple, and also whenever there is a huge cosmic event, like a few days ago when we had Szivak, which was Buddha's birthday, and anytime there's a solstice or an equinox, we'll always hold an event wherever I am in the world.
Beautiful.
So it's amazing.
And your final words of wisdom today?
Would have to probably be the quote that I've been writing recently, that I've been attaching to all of my work. And actually, no, I'm thinking about that now, and really what I just want to say is just be. Just be. It's so simple. Use the KISS method. Just be, enjoy, and stop trying to do. People are always doing and trying to prove how worthy and great they are, and they forgot that they were born like that already, and they don't need to prove it. They just are. So be what you were created to be. Be that God, be the goddess, and bring and give it your all to everything, because you won't be let down. And when you surrender and release to the universe, the divine, however you call it, it's the same thing. You will have the most amazing, exceptional, divine, magical existence you could ever imagine. So dare to be.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you. I'm honored. Mahalo.
Charlotte, thank you so much for your time today. It was such a joy to meet you, to meet your beautiful doggy. I don't know if you noticed or you heard him chewing on his bone through the interview. I thought that was absolutely gorgeous. So many times animals like to make themselves known during an interview, so the cats pop up on the shoulder and things like that. And I thought, what a clever little puppy you've got. He's in the background chewing away, so we all know he's there, being subtle but very present. So I adore that, and I adore your message. I think what you do is incredible. I have heard from so many people from all over the place what a talented healer, teacher that you are. So it was such a pleasure to work with you, and I wish you much love and many, many blessings.